Well, good morning. Out a little bit later than I anticipated. Struggling to get out of bed basically, and as you can tell from the slight glow on my face, I've missed sunrise. Sun probably rose in the last 10 minutes. And we find ourselves out in the wonderful New Forest again. Now, I haven't been to this location really before, driven through it lots of times from the road, which is just to my left, might be why you can hear noise. There's some nice trees in the background. I think these are the ones I was trying to shoot earlier in the week. A lot of the New Forest is, as you can see here, reasonably sparse of trees, but then you get these areas where there's significant clumps of trees. And I'm aiming for one of those because I think from the road it's always looked quite nice. The pathway is very, well, it's not really a pathway. I think this is where the New Forest ponies just keep the heather down and the ferns down, and I'm struggling to get through. The other thing I'm also very mindful of is there's adders in the New Forest, and adders are the UK's one and only poisonous snake. And they're quite rare, so hopefully we won't come across any of those, but yeah, I am paying attention to where I'm going a little bit. Okay, so we've navigated the maze that is that behind me, and what I'm doing is I'm just walking along the length of the road at the moment because I could see from the road as I was driving past, up this way, there's an underpass that allows me to get to the other side of the dual carriageway. Welcome to the north side of the dual carriage. These trees here, or this group of trees here, is where I'm aiming for. The ground is, in the lower ground, it's really tricky, it's really muddy. But middle of nowhere, you just come, this isn't somebody's garden, this is middle of nowhere. You come across these bush of, I don't know, rhododendrons or whatever they are. So we're going to take a shot, I think. Okay, this is the Canon 24 TSE2 adapted onto the Fuji 50R, GFX 50R. So what I'm now attempting to do is tilting the lens, I should say, as I'm in this plane, so that I can try and maximise the depth of field in this shot, so I can get the horizon and this beautiful bush in focus. And I better check that I'm level. Yeah, it doesn't look like it, but I am level. So this is f8. I'm going to slightly underexpose because I've got highlights going to coming on that plant from the sun to my right, and I've got a 2-second shutter delay. Right. Let's move on, pack up, move on to the next shot. Oh, this is interesting. It's really, really tricky terrain. I don't know if you can see this, but there's basically these really large clumps of basically grasses, and in between it's quite deep. If I'll show you that. It's quite deep, and in the gaps it's really wet, boggy and marshy. It's taken me ages just to get, I don't know, 100 yards. And I'm trying to get to those trees over there, which I don't think I'm going to be able to do, because I think behind this bush in front of me, I think there's a dip that's going to get wetter and wetter, and I think it's probably a stream that's running down the centre of that valley. I'm desperately trying to get across to that flat bit just here, because it looks like it's a little bit more solid than the stuff I'm in at the moment. You can see it's just like really, really boggy ground. But pretty. That solid ground I was talking about, I've made it, but it's really squelchy, it's wet, I can feel the water getting through my shoes, even though my shoes are meant to be Look, you can see it's all oozing up. It's almost like sinking mud. That's it. That's what it feels like. You're not standing in any one place too long. I'm going to try and go this way. Just keep moving. Okay, I'm sinking really deep now. It's getting close to losing shoes. I'm going over the... Oh, it's gone over the top. Definitely waders for this bit. It's getting wetter and wetter and boggier and boggier. Oh, I'm going to stand on this dry clump for a section. But look at that. There's these plants that have got like cotton wool buds on them everywhere. Well, I've made it from, let me see, I've made it from the top of that hill, behind that bush where all the flowers were, and I took a photo probably out the top here, and then I went through, I don't know what to describe it, boggy, marshy area, all the way down to, and I just came through this section just here, and then cut across this bit here. I nearly lost my shoe several times. I'm just going to pan down so you can see what I'm up against. Now these are waterproof shoes, but they're not that waterproof. Okay, just one more treat. I've got to get across this. Here's a great bit, look at this. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm going through. Okay, I've crossed it and now the other foot is soaking wet too. Delightful. Right, after all that, we're up the other side. There better be some blooming good photos up here, worthwhile of that. Like I want unicorns coming out of the mist at dawn with a glorious red fire sky in the sky. Somehow I don't think I'm gonna get that. I think one of the nice things about this morning is I've come out without really there being an objective. When I've been out previous times, the video when I went to Stokes Bay, Alva Valley, that I'd seen and there was an objective to get somewhere. Today I've come out with no expectations of, oh yes, we're going to go and photograph this or we're going to go and photograph that. It was just coming out for effectively a walk and to explore the area, this bit which I've never been to before, and after that little bit through the swamp I won't come back again anytime soon. It's just coming out and looking for stuff, and I've got to keep my eyes open and look for opportunities because I've got no real end goal here. I think I'm going to walk down to this area here. There's an opening in the woods if it's not too wet, and then I'm going to walk up through the edge of the woods and into sort of like the, I don't know, pine woods. And then I'm going to come out to the right and then start heading back. And then I've got to manage that swamp again. Okay, we've just come into the woods that I've been aiming for. The light's kind of nice now, coming in quite low down through the trees at the edge and just slightly in from the wood. There's this tree that's leaning and crashed down a little bit, and I kind of like the shapes. So I'm going to see if I can get a shot of that. Okay, so I framed up now. I do like the light on that tree, the dead branch hanging down. I'm using the Fuji GF X50R with the GF 50mm lens. I'm going to go f11. No, I'm not. Just press the shutter button. I'm just going to underexpose slightly. So I'm f11, 8 to the second, another 2 seconds delay on the shutter. Okay, so what attracted me to this scene is the light. There's dew on the grass and on the little tufts of grass, catching the light, sunlight. With that tree there, it would just kind of like give some interest to it, and the sparkling of the light will be rather good, I thought. So I've actually put the Pentax P67 105 f2.4 on. I'm going to set it to f11, and I'm just going to take the shot Exposure was quite tricky on this one because we got a very strong sunlight shooting straight into the sun, and I wanted to get didn't want to wash out the sky too much, so I've underexposed the image, what the meter is telling me, and I've got lots of sparkly white bits in the grass with the light being bounced off the dew, so I've underexposed to try and compensate for that, and I'm using a histogram to make sure that I'm not clipping any of the highlights. But that means that the darks are quite dark. You can't see too much detail in the darker areas, and the trees pretty much in silhouette, which is kind of the idea of this sort of shot anyway. But I'm hoping that because of the latitude of the files on the Fuji, that I can lift the detail out of the dark, and the left hand side of the histogram is still above the base, so it should be okay. I was just backing up from the last shot of the tree with the light glistening off the dew, and as I was packing up, I suddenly spotted, I don't know if you can see, well, down here in the valley anyway, about there where that tree is, big tree is, 3 large deer had stopped and standing next to the tree looking in my direction, and I was as quiet as anything, stop commentary, everything, and quickly changed my lens to the longest lens I've got, which is a 250, the Minolta reflex, and tried to get a shot of them. But before I managed to get it on and get them focused and everything set up, they'd actually moved on a little bit, so I couldn't get them by the tree, but I then got them on a ridge. But it'd been better if I got them by the tree. Nice to see anyway. I'm kind of set up. It's an awkward shot. The one thing I don't like about it is ideally I'd be shooting from where the video camera is, but if I do that, the shadow of the tripod, the camera, is going to get in the shot, so I've had to come down this way. So that's one thing that's tricky with this position, the composition. The other thing is that from here I've got a fallen pine tree going across the diagonal there, which I don't really like, but I'm rather restricted. Now, one of the things coming here that I can see is there's another fallen tree over there. So what I'm going to do is I'll take this one, my bag's behind me, so I'm going to have to climb over the fence and get the bag. This is forestry commissioned, and there's an entrance up there, so I don't have a problem with I'm trespassing, because I think this is fine. So I'm going to get my bag, I'm going to go take this shot, go over there, take that shot, and then I've got another shot I've got in mind right over the far side that I can see from here. Well, not over the far side, but into the woods a little bit. All right, let's get the shot. So I'm on the 24. I've played around with the tilt mechanism so that I can have nice straight trees, and I'm probably going to do another one while I'm here, so that they are tumbling to the zenith in the sky somewhere. Okay, so that's off. Let me go get my bag, and we'll try the other shots. Whilst I was shooting the fallen tree, one of the things that I did actually notice from that shot over there, looking this way, is that there's some flowers here growing amongst the trees. I thought I might make a quite nice shot. At the time, they were lit up by the sunlight. So I'm using the Minolta 250f 5.6 reflex lens. It's a mirror lens. Any highlights in the background come out as sort of donut-y shape if they're out of focus. So I'm going to take the shot. I've got a focused up already. It's a long lens so that I can focus in on the flowers in the light, just in this area here, up on the top left. Why am I doing these videos? It's a good question. I've spent nearly 30 years now working for a global company, and when you're working full time, you don't get that much time to actually to yourself, you know, especially with families and doing all the other things you have to do in life. You don't get much time to yourself to go and do stuff like this. I've started trying to get out more and do this because sooner or later, probably sooner rather than later, I'm going to end up retiring And this is kind of my passion. I enjoy doing photography. I enjoy doing this stuff. So I'm doing it primarily because I enjoy this stuff. But I'm also thinking about, in terms of when I retire, starting to build up something that I can then grow into. So, whew, nearly home. Well, say nearly home, I've still got a fair way to go. But I've tracked back up to the dual carriage, and the plan is to follow the dual carriage back to where the underpass is, because I'm probably going to struggle to find it otherwise. Look, it's like I've got a stone track to walk on, which is going to be helpful. If you've enjoyed watching a middle-aged man get up before the crack of dawn, at stupid o'clock in the morning, traipsing through swamps, getting his feet soaking wet, just to take a few photographs, and maybe you've enjoyed the landscape and the scenery in the middle of the south coast of England, consider subscribing to the channel. Yay! I found the underpass! I'm free!